There's a debate in the zombies community over what the first modern zombies map is. Some people say Moon, some say Origins, some say Mob of the Dead, but it really depends on how you define a modern zombies map. Smith Plays recently released a video on Mob of the Dead calling it the beginning of the golden age of zombies, and I tend to agree with him to an extent. Mob of the Dead ushered in a new era, and is really the first modern zombies map because it was really the first one where survival took a backseat to Easter eggs and little challenges throughout the map. I mean, completing the Easter egg ends the game. If Mob of the Dead is the first modern zombies map, Shadows of Evil is the best modern zombies map. What's going on, guys? Jake here, and today we're taking a deep dive into Shadows of Evil. I think more than any other zombies map, Shadows needs to be examined in context. It was originally released in 2015, and previous Treyarch Zombies map Origins was released in 2013. The Zombies community had gone a full 2 years without Treyarch Zombies, and while we had Extinction and Exo Zombies as place fillers, two game modes I actually enjoyed, and in Extinction's case I think is criminally underrated, they were not really embraced by the community. Shadows was not only the first real Zombies map in 2 years, it was the first one on the next generation of consoles. And expectations for innovation in game mechanics as well as technical developments were high. To cap it off, this map was next in line after we had Mob of the Dead, Buried, and Origins, a string of maps adored by the community. The expectations for Shadows were massive, and the fact that this map actually lived up to the hype adds to its greatness. But with the scene set, let's get into the map itself. Shadows takes place in Morgue City, a hard-boiled, nowhere-style town with a seedy underbelly. The atmosphere of this map is knocked out of the park, with some of the best little touches in the series. The Perk Jingles remix to be era appropriate is perhaps the best example of this, and it shows that this map was truly a labor of love on the part of the developers. Every inch of the city gives it more character, and the lore and world building done with this one map is off the charts. My favorite little touch is the story you can hear by pressing X on the phone booth throughout the map between the investigative reporter and Mr. Rat, who's likely another character we'll get into in a second. Now obviously, to anyone who's played the map, the Nowhere theme isn't the only one at play here. This map quickly gets Lovecraftian, with giant tentacle monsters appearing everywhere alongside the zombies. Now I criticized Origins for having its atmosphere be disjointed, but I don't think Shadows suffers from the same problem. On Origins, you're constantly jumping between different areas with different feels, while on Shadows, the developers do a great job blending them. All of these themes work together. Giant octopus monsters coupled with the characters' reactions to them just work well with the jazzy Nowhere theme for whatever reason. This map has a distinct identity, and it unapologetically sticks to it, no matter how weird it gets. This brings me to the next topic, the characters. This is going to be probably where I levy the bulk of my criticism, which is saying a lot because on the whole I enjoy these characters. Let's get the negatives out of the way first. Floyd sucks. He's no fun to play as at all. People get on Marlton for being annoying, but I'd rather play as him because at least he has a personality and can actually emote. Floyd is like playing as Doom Guy without the fun or novelty of actually playing as Doom Guy. Jessica is okay. I liken her to Sarah Michelle Gellar in Call of the Dead. There's a certain charm to her character, but her jokes all fall flat for me and she can be annoying to listen to on repeat. I think it's because I don't really buy Floyd and Jessica as being part of this world. They feel like people acting. Jackie, on the other hand, is one of my favorite characters we've ever gotten. He's hilarious and he's just hamming it up the entire time.
You know what I am? I'm a fucking samurai killing machine, that's what I am.
He's the corrupt cop taking the Nowhere theme to 11, and he's just a joy to play as.
That's like taking candy from a baby, without the baby.
Nero, I always got a massive Jeff Goldblum vibe from, and in researching for this video, I found he's actually voiced by Jeff Goldblum.
It appears that the shield is quicker than the eye.
So yeah, Nero is literally just Jeff Goldblum in a zombies map, but enough said.
If it imbues me with power, then shoo I will.
The final character we meet is the Shadow Man, a guy set up to be helping us, but is clearly setting us up the entire time. He ends up betraying us, then we end up beating him. I think he's fine. If he was just confined to Shadows, I think I'd like him a lot more, but considering he's the main bad guy for all of Black Ops 3, I'd like him to be a little more evil perhaps, or just be developed a little further. But as far as characters go, this map overall does a really good job, giving us the character backstories in the opening cutscene, and they're all compelling. As far as gameplay is concerned, this map made a ton of great improvements on older mechanics. The Afterlife mechanic from Mob returns in the form of Beast Mode. Well, I've stated previously, I always prefer the simple power switch. I appreciate that Beast Mode has applications outside of turning on the power and opening Pack-a-Punch. It's needed for the sword, and instead of reviving yourself, it can be used to revive teammates. The generators from Origins return in the form of rituals to open up Pack-a-Punch. I think this system is relatively fair and balanced, not overly burdensome on newer players, and not too tedious for older ones. I like how opening up Pack-a-Punch on this map actually feels like an accomplishment again, hence the XP reward you get for doing it. The fumigators and pods to replace the dig sites from Origins were a nice touch in that they reward patience. The longer you wait, the better rewards you get. I wouldn't necessarily call the tram an improvement on the bus or the tank, but it's a welcome feature. Transportation like that is something I've never felt Treyarch has nailed and would like to see them experiment with in the future. Now, Shadows being the first BO3 map meant that all of BO3's innovations had to work on Shadows, and they mostly did. Viewers who watch my channel know that I'm not the biggest fan of Gobblegums, but they didn't ruin my experience on Shadows by any means. Double Pack-a-Punch is a great innovation, and I think Shadows implemented it flawlessly. Each alternate ammo type is good in certain situations, and Shadow's unique terrain allows players to really train or camp however they want. An underrated aspect to this map is the verticality, and it's verticality done right, unlike on maps like Die Rise. The last big Black Ops 3 innovation I wanted to talk about are the specialist weapons. I think Shadows nails this as well, if not better, than any other Black Ops 3 map. The sword is not overpowered, it grants increased offense at the cost of mobility. A trade-off an experienced zombies player typically never makes, but can be helpful in niche situations. The process to unlock can be slightly tedious, but not overly burdensome by any means, and casual players can easily accomplish this task. The sword upgrade takes a little more skill without being tedious at all, and rewards experienced players with a much better version of the sword, the same increased offense without the mobility nerf. The sword itself is on a big timer and manages not to be overpowered at all in my opinion. It's perfectly balanced. Black Ops 3 in making the zombies faster and more aggressive changed the dynamics of some of the perks, and I wanted to talk about that on this map. With Beast Mode, Quick Revive is arguably not as needed, and increasing your base health, in theory, limits the need for Jug. Alternate ammo types make Double Tap redundant around round 40, and Fast Mag attachments make Speed Cola less necessary. The quickness of the zombies, however, makes Stamina Up, Electric Cherry, and some of our new perks more attractive options. Now, ultimately, I think the original 4 are still probably the best, but I find myself using them less often given certain scenarios. Now, I think Shadows does suffer from a lack of perk options, with only 7. Widow's Wine is a terrific addition to the lineup, however, and I love it as an option. It's expensive, but totally worth it, and I think it's easily one of the most interesting perk ideas they've had. That being said, I see no reason why they couldn't have added Electric Cherry or Tombstone to this map. I know Tombstone and Who's Who are kind of memes, but if you step back and examine it, I think Tombstone could be useful on almost any other map outside of Transit. I know they added Gobblegums to make up for this, but they do a much worse job than the perk itself. All in all, the perk situation on this map isn't great, but it's good enough to give the player options and not be counted as a negative against the map. One thing I love about Shadows that I don't think people give enough credit to is the Civil Protector. It's just the Maxis drone with better coding, yes, but visually and in terms of gameplay, it seems leaps and bounds better. Even being able to revive a solo player who doesn't have Quick Revive is a massive plus. Another thing I haven't touched on yet is the Margwa, the boss of this map. These are the best designed bosses in the series. They're menacing to you on their own if you don't have Jug, and in a zombie horde, they're lethal. They create a good challenge for both casual and more skilled players to fight, as you don't need to tailor your gameplay to fighting them unless you're camping. They're easy to kill, but not so easy that they're not a threat. They don't spawn in too frequently on their own, so they're not always in the back of the player's mind. The last major thing that needs to be talked about is the Apothicon Servant. Is it a little OP possibly? I think Alchemical and Gobblegums are what make it OP. On its own, it doesn't have enough ammo to be OP. I typically don't like buildable wonder weapons, but this one you can't really get until round 14-ish, so I don't think it's as egregiously cheap as something like the Sliquifier. When you're playing with randoms, the fact that it's a buildable only one person can have is kind of a nightmare. At least the box is based on chance, so it's fair. But overall, I like it, and think it's not so strong of a weapon that it totally breaks the game, despite being borderline overpowered. All in all, there isn't much to talk about in the way of negatives when it comes to Shadows. I truthfully did not love this map when it came out. The fact that it was able to overcome my negative first impressions and climb all the way to my number 2 map should say something. I don't think this placement is controversial, but maybe I should talk about why it's better than Origins and why it's not number 1. This map takes a lot of what made Origins good and built upon it. It's a product of its time, sure, but it came in with insane expectations and lived up to them, which is increasingly rare in this day and age. Shadows offers a number of different ways to play and has a variety of different training and camping spots. It offers a number of great experiences. Well, Origins offers one incredible one. I simply value the variety and replayability of Shadows above the more linear nature of Origins. The reason Shadows is not number 1 is because to me, it still lacks something. To reiterate, Shadows is a modern zombies map, which isn't always my cup of tea when you're talking about the greatest zombies maps of all time. Shadows lacks this indefinable quality you get from getting to a high round that made zombies great initially. I know this is somewhat of an annoying point for me to close on. I mean, it's a feeling I have, it's not an argument. But I promise I'll elaborate more on it in the next retrospective video when I reveal my number 1 pick. Before I do the outro, I just want to apologize for the lack of uploads recently. I've been working on some more labor-intensive videos as of late, and one of them accidentally got deleted, and they're taking a lot longer to produce than I originally thought. I'm starting a new job next week, which should force me to be more organized. Hopefully things will start to move back to a regular schedule. That being said, what did you guys think? Did Shadows live up to the hype? Where does it rank on your list? Comment below what you guys think, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, leave a like if you think I deserved it, and until next time, go crush some challenges.